So after once you have login, click on the courses. There you can see course list. And in this course list, you can see wide range of courses. Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to see current affairs of 5th July 2022. So let's get started with our discussion and let us try to see first article. So this article is important from your modern history point of view, which mainly comes under your GS paper 1. And there are high chance of getting questions regarding this Alluri Raju in your mains. And the students who are going to prepare for this year mains, so please don't leave this topic. So there's a high chance of getting question. So actually this topic is also important from your prelims. So you can get some statements regarding this Alluri Raju. So why this is a news? Actually it is a 125th centenary celebrations. So because of this is a news. So especially for the students who are beginners, I want to give you one tip here is, so how can you expect a question from the topics which are from your history especially means, so either it is like 100th century or 75th century or 125th anniversary or 150th anniversary. So from that area you can get a question for sure. So if you're talking about this article, title says that Prime Minister Modi unveils bronze statue of freedom fighter Alluri Raju at Bhimavaram. So actually this Bhimavaram which is in AP, in the state of AP. So now let us try to see this topic in a great detail. As I said, this topic is very important, and now let us try to see some important dimensions regarding this topic. And here we can also connect this Alluri Raju with ethics as well. So ethics which mainly comes under your GS paper 4, right? So here we can talk about what are the values that we can inculcate from this Alluri Raju. So that point is important from your ethics. So if you see context, it mainly says that our Prime Minister Modi, he may launch this year-long celebrations on this 125th birth anniversary of this Alluri Raju, and he mainly want to unveil this statue because he want let this new generation to know about the heroics of this Alluri Raju and what are the sacrifices he made for the tribal community. Yes, surely next generation they need to know about the importance of this Alluri Raju, because especially now the tribal people who are present in the different areas or different parts of our country, they are facing number of issues. Yes, we need to also focus on these tribal people because they also become the part of our society. So if we're talking about details, it mainly says that Alluri Raju, he was born in 1897 and he died in 1924. Actually, he lived for a very short lifespan. So if you're talking about this Alluri Raju, he was an Indian revolutionary and he mainly waged an armed campaign against British colonial rule in India. Actually, if you're talking about nickname of this Alluri Raju, his nickname was like Manyam Veerudu. Okay, Manyam Veerudu. It means nothing but hero of jungle. So if you're talking about at present, so what is happening in Andhra Pradesh? So what happened, if you see in Andhra Pradesh, so here in Bhimavaram, our Prime Minister, he mainly made a visit and he mainly unveiled this bronze statue. So actually this Alluri Raju, he mainly born in present Andhra Pradesh state and he became involved in anti-British activities. So why he entered into this anti-British activities? So first you have to know about one important act of Britishers, that is 1882 Madras Forest Act. So Britishers came up with this 1882 Madras Forest Act. So this act which mainly restricted the free movement of Adivasis, that is tribal people, and that mainly prevented them practicing their agriculture such as shifting cultivation. It is called as Podu in Andhra Pradesh. So here, because of this Madras Forest Act of 1882, that mainly led these Adivasis some troubles regarding free movement, and even they cannot practice this traditional form of agriculture, that is Podu agriculture. So initially here Alluri Raju, he was under influence of Gandhi's non-cooperation movement and he inspired the tribals to seek justice in the local panchayat court, and also they came with the boycotting of this colonial courts. And finally he led Rampa Rebellion or Manyam Revolution in year 1992. And finally he mainly died in 1924 because this Alluri Sitaram Raju was taken into police custody and he died to tree and shot by the public execution. Okay, so here the whole lifespan of this Alluri Sitaram Raju was 27 years. And if you're talking about what are the values that we can take or that we can inculcate from this Alluri Sitaram Raju. So first one here regarding patriotism. So the patriotic spark that he and several other heroes across the nation reinforced continues to thrive within all of us. Yes, we need to get patriotism. And next one is we need to give the value for the sacrifice. Okay, sacrifice. And next one here is commitment to freedom. So just like Alluri Sitaram Raju, there are many other freedom fighters in our country, and we must learn the spirit of sacrifice and as well as commitment to freedom from them. And I want to give you one question which appeared in the previous year's prelims, that is in 2020. So with reference to history of India, Vugulan or Great Tumult is the description of which of the following events. So whenever you are having this type of events like Mappila Revolution, and you can talk about Manyam Revolution, Rampa Rebellion. So if you are seeing this type of things in news, yes, you can expect questions regarding these revolutions in the prelims. So first one is Revolt of 1857. Next one is Mappila Rebellion, Indigo Revolt. Next one is Birsa Munda Revolt. So this Ugulan or the Great Tumult, it is related to this Birsa Munda's revolt of 1899 to 1900. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding Lisbon Declaration. So till now we didn't discuss about this Lisbon Declaration. What are the key provisions of this Lisbon Declaration? So we had discussion on this United Nations Ocean Conference and highlights, etc. So now in this lecture we are only going to focus on this. What is this Lisbon Declaration? So actually here this United Nations Ocean Conference is mainly focusing on this Save Our Ocean, Protect Our Future. So now let us try to see this topic, and this topic is important from your GS paper 2, from your international relations. And you can get a question like, so recently this Lisbon Declaration is seen in news, so what it related to? It related to ocean conservation, right? So if you're talking about context here, second United Nations Ocean Conference which mainly ended with this Lisbon Declaration, and this declaration title here is Our Ocean, Our Future, Call for Action. Our Ocean, Our Future, Call for Action, and it was co-hosted by Kenya and as well as Portugal in Lisbon. So the first United Nations Ocean Conference which mainly held in this headquarters, that is New York itself, in 2017, and this is the second United Nations Ocean Conference. So we're talking about some key highlights of this Lisbon Declaration. It mainly says that, so first one is, it says that at least 30% of national maritime zones by 2030. So by 2030 we need to come up with at least 30% of national maritime zones, and we need to achieve carbon neutrality by 2040. But in COP26 at Glasgow, India mainly said that we are going to achieve this carbon neutrality by 2070. And here this Lisbon Declaration mainly says that we need to achieve this carbon neutrality by 2040. And next one here is, here we need to allocate funds to research on ocean acidification, climate resilience, and as well as surveillance. And we need to focus on innovative action to address ocean emergency. And we need to focus on implementation of this SDG 14, that is life below water. And we can go for empowering women, girls, recognizing their participation, which is crucial to build a sustainable ocean-based economy. And next one here is, we need to focus on protecting of biodiversity. So biodiversity in areas beyond national jurisdiction. Okay, so we need to go for protecting of our biodiversity, and they should be within our, or we can say like beyond our national jurisdiction, which lies outside 200 miles. Okay, that is especially in this exclusive economic zone of the countries. And if we are talking about other initiatives which are mainly focusing on ocean conservation, so this part is also very important. So first one here is, we came up with this Clean Sea campaign. So United Nations Environment Program which mainly launched this Clean Seas program in February 2017. And important aim of this campaign, it is to engage governments and the general public and private sector in fight against marine plastic pollution. So here under this clean sea, so the name itself it is saying that clean sea. So clean sea means we are mainly focusing on especially to fight against this marine plastic pollution. As we all know that in Pacific Ocean we have Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Yes, because of this plastic, so there is a large impact or large amount of adverse impact that is mainly seen in this marine ecosystem. So here we need to take some steps especially to prevent or to fight against this marine pollution. And next one here is, it is also have some aim to ban single-use plastic. So from July 1st onwards in India we came with this banning of the single-use plastic and even micro beads within this 5 years. And we also have one ocean summit. So this summit which mainly focusing on raising of collective level of ambition of international community on marine issues. So we are mainly talking about this international communities on this marine issues, and we are mainly focusing on challenges and what are the steps that can be taken. And next one is, we also have this decade of ocean science for sustainable development. So United Nations which mainly proclaimed a decade of ocean science for sustainable development, that is between 2021 to 2030, and we are mainly going to have some support efforts to reverse the cycle of decline in ocean wealth. So ocean health, if you're talking about this image, you can see, so it is mainly talking about internal water, territorial sea, contagious zone, exclusive economic zone, high seas area. It is according to this UNCLOS, United Nations Law or Convention of Law of Seas. So here this is a baseline. So water inside the baseline, that will come to the internal waters, until territorial sea, that is from baseline till 12 nautical miles, so it mainly comes to the territorial sea. So internal waters and territorial sea which mainly comes under this national airspace, and international airspace means is beyond this territorial sea. So beyond this territorial sea we have this contiguous zone, that is from this territorial sea 12 nautical miles, and from here baseline it will be like 24 nautical miles. And next one here is, so from baseline, so till 200 nautical miles we have this exclusive economic zone, and beyond this we have this IC area. So actually there was one question which appeared on this in our recent prelims. So I want to give you one mains question, that is, examine the impact of marine pollution on coast and coastal ecology. Also discuss the conservation methods to clean coast. So this is one of the important questions. You have to write about what is this marine pollution, and you can also add the data regarding this marine pollution, and you can talk about impact first, and you have to discuss the conservation methods. And now let us try to see question. So this question which appeared in 2022, that is, which of the following statements best describes the polar code? It is the international code of safety of ships operating in the polar waters. It is talking about agreement of the countries around the North Pole regarding the demarcation of their territories and in the polar region, and it is a set of norms to be followed by the countries whose scientists undertake the research studies on the North Pole and South Pole, and it is a trade and security agreement of member countries of Arctic Council. So correct option here is A, that is, it is talking about International Code of Safety of polar which the ships which are mainly operating in this polar waters. And next question also appeared in 2022 regarding this UNCLOS. So here the coastal state has right to establish the breadth of territorial sea up to limit not exceeding 12 nautical miles, okay, measured from the baseline determined according with the convention. Yes. Next one is, ships of all states, whether coastal, inland or landlocked, enjoy the right of innocent passage through territorial seas. Next one here is, exclusive economic zone shall not extend beyond 200 nautical miles from the baseline from which the breadth and as well as territorial sea is measured. Yes, this statement is also correct. So correct option is D, 1, 2 and 3. And now let us try to see next question is regarding vice president elections. Okay, so vice president elections. So here Election Commission of India which made announced that here vice president elections, they are going to be held on August 6th. So now let us try to see this topic in detail, and let us try to see some basic facts regarding this vice president as well. So that might become a prelims question. So if you say context, it mainly says that Here recently is the Election Commission of India, which mainly announced that here vice presidential elections, they are going to be held in August 2022. So if we're talking about details, it mainly says that so vice president is the second highest constitutional force, okay, constitutional office, okay, it is second highest, and as well as it is one of the important constitutional office in the India. And if you're talking about tenure, it is like 5 years tenure, and it can continue to be in office irrespective of expiry of term until the successor assumes the office. So until the successor assumes the office, here the office will be continued by the former vice president itself. And the vice president, they can be moved from office by a resolution. So they can come up with a resolution and they can, okay, and they can be removed. And if you are talking about one more important point here, so for the resolution which is going to be passed here, the majority, which is very much important. Okay, and one more thing here is before 14 days itself, we need to give some intention, or we need to give some submission. And next one here is vice president is ex officio chairperson of Rajya Sabha. So whoever the person he may be, so he will become the ex officio chairman of this Rajya Sabha. And if you are talking about electoral college here, so as per Article 66 of Indian Constitution, which mainly says that vice president mainly elected by the members of electoral college consisting of elected members of Rajya Sabha, nominated members of this Rajya Sabha, and as well as elected members of Lok Sabha. And I want to give you one question which happened in 2013. So chairman and deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha, they are not members of that house, but deputy chairman, he is a member. So this statement is incorrect. And next one is while the nominated members of the two houses of parliament have no voting right in the presidential election, they have the right to vote election of the vice president. Okay, so here this statement is correct. So correct option is B2 only. So now let us try to say next topic is regarding FCRA, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. So why this FCRA is in news? So first you have to know the background of this FCRA, why government of India came up with this FCRA. So what were the problems at that time? So if you are understanding what are the problems at that time, then we can understand why we came up with this so and so law or so and so act. So this article will be important from your polity point of view, which mainly comes under your GS paper 2. And now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So recently Ministry of Home Affairs amended certain provisions of this Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, that is FCRA. So if you see details regarding this FCRA, this background of this FCRA, so here FCRA was enacted during emergency in 1976. So during that time, okay, what happened? Because of that emergency in 1976, here different foreign countries, they were interfering in this Indian affairs by pumping of funds through independent organizations. So these concerns that had expressed in the parliament as early as in 1969. So here these concerns, they are mainly expressed in our parliament, and finally they came up with this law to regulate this foreign donations to individuals and as well as associations, etc. And now let us try to see what are the amendments or what are the changes. So if you know the previous one, then you can easily understand the changes. So here this new amendment, which mainly allows Indians to receive up to 10 lakh rupees, okay, 10 lakh rupees annually from their relatives abroad under this FCRA. And earlier the limit was like 1 lakh rupees, so now it is 10 lakh rupees. So if amount which mainly exists means here individuals, they will now have 90 days to inform the government instead of 30 days earlier. So if they are having more amount means they have to inform this government, and earlier it was like 10 days of time period, but now it increased to 30 days. And next one is it has given individuals and organizations or NGO 45 days for application of obtaining registration or prior the permission under this FCRA to receive the funds. So here this FCRA, which mainly says that it mainly given individuals and as organizations or NGOs 45 days for this application or obtaining the registrations prior to the permission under this FCRA receive funds. So earlier it was 30 days and now it increased to 45 days. And if you are talking about the limit, okay, the limit was 50%, okay, before 2020. And now let us try to see what is the significance. So whenever there is a relaxation that is mainly seen, means that we can attract more amount of remittances. And this one is we can also see there will be the stable forex reserves. So because of this inflow of funds to India, that will also lead to stabilizing of forex reserves. And next one here is even increasing of this import duty on gold from 7.5 to 12.5 percentage, that will mainly discourage the gold imports. Okay, that will mainly discourage the gold imports, as it will result in the increasing of price of gold in India. So this is one important cause of concern. And next one here is it also reduces the trade deficit. So here we are having a huge amount of trade deficit, right? So that can be reduced by this. Okay, so this is the gist of this topic. And now let us try to see next topic. Title says India needs to scale up direct nutrition interventions. So this article which is mainly focusing on this nutrition. So this article will be important from our health, which mainly comes in our GS paper 2. So actually, what is this article talking about? So article which is mainly talking about first 1000 days of life. So in the first 1000 days of life, we need to focus, okay, in the 9 months of pregnancy and the first 2 years of life. So we need to have to take utmost care, mainly to decrease under 5 mortality. So under 5 means here children who are not attaining. So before attaining the 5 years of age, there will be the mortality that is mainly seen. So now let us try to say this topic, and this topic is very important from your health. And if you see here, author mainly says that yes, we are going to celebrate 75 years of independence, and in this 75 years, yes, we got much significant advances in science, technology, medicine, etc. And here what happened, one important thing that we are missing is we are not focusing on nutrition, and child malnutrition is very much high. About 35.5% of children, they are stunted, and 67.1% of people, they have been anemic. Okay, so it mainly contributes to the 68% of this under 5 mortality. So here poor nutrition is one of the important thing that is having some impact not only health. So whenever we are not giving proper nutrition for our kids, our children, then what happen, that will be having not only the impact on the health, but whenever we are sending them to school, yes, they will be having some negative impact on their physical and as well as mental health. So that will lead to decreasing of learning capacity, and as well as there will be poor school performance as well. So these are also related with this nutrition. So if you're talking about in adulthood, so it mainly leads to the reducing of earning, increasing of risk of chronic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, obesity, etc. And if you're talking about this National Nutrition Mission NNM, so recently we came with renaming or rebranding of this NNM as Poshan Abhiyan. So this Poshan Abhiyan, which is mainly focusing on malnutrition as well as especially women and children and as adolescent girls. So here, which is the nodal ministry to look after this NNM, that is Ministry of Women and Child Development. So here this Ministry of Child Development, that is Women and Child Development, which mainly says that here we need to focus on the first 1000 days of life. Okay, that is about 270 days of pregnancy and about 730 days of 2 years, okay, up to 2 years of age of child. So even if you're talking about globally and even in the Indian side, so yes, we are mainly supporting this strategy, and we are mainly focusing on irreversible stunting occurring, which is mainly going to occur by the 2 years of age. Okay, so if you're talking about this Poshan Abhiyan, which mainly have some special emphasis on impact of essential nutrition interventions and combined with nutrition sensitive interventions, which directly and indirectly impact the mother, and even we are focusing on infant and young child nutrition, and we are focusing on coverage of this maternal health services, enhancing of women empowerment, and even access to improve water and as well as sanitation and hygiene. So these are the important areas that we need to focus on. And if you're talking about data, according to this National Family Health Survey 5, so it mainly said that here there is a substantial improvement that is seen in this stunting and as well as wasting. So if you're talking about data, especially we need to focus on this antenatal surveys, means once the woman she became pregnant, means yes, she need to have some expert advice, that is called as antenatal care. So antenatal care attendance which also had been increased. So this is according to this National Health Family Survey, and women, they are having their own savings bank accounts that mainly increased from 63 to 78%, and women, they are also owing some mobile phones that mainly increased from 45% to 54%, and women who married below this age of 18 years, it had been decreased from 26 to 23%, and women with 10 or more years of schooling, okay, women with 10 or more years of schooling, that had been increased from 35 to 41%, and access to clean fuel has been increased. So this is the data which is according to this National Family Health Survey 5. So here one important cause of concern is nutrition, maternal nutrition, appropriate infant and child feeding. So they ought to be addressed properly. So in India, about 20 to 30% of undernutrition, which mainly seen even in the first 6 months. Okay, so in that time we need to focus on exclusive breastfeeding. So child undernutrition, it is one of the first 3 months which mainly remain high. Okay, especially at that time we need to focus on creating some awareness regarding early breastfeeding, and we need to go for promoting of some techniques of holding and as well as latching and as well as manually emptying the breast. They are some crucial for the optimal transfer of the best milk to the baby. So we need to focus on that. And next one here is recent evidence from the Center for Technical Alternatives in the rural areas, that is CTARA. So which mainly indicates that whenever we are providing some well balanced breastfeeding counseling, then that will helpful especially for the delivery and as well as follow up as well. And next one here is the daily weight gain of a baby, it is noted that average 30 to 35% grams per day, which mainly increase whenever we are mainly focusing on this early breastfeeding. And apart from that, breastfeeding from the 6 months onwards, especially in our community, 6 months 6 days we will be having a small function which is called as Annaprasana. So what happened in this from the 6 months onwards, not only the mother breast milk but even semi-solid foods are feeded. For example, you can talk about in market we will be getting different brands of Cerelac. Okay, so it is one of the semi-solid feeding. And apart from that, we will start providing some juices, fruits to the children, right? So here we need to focus on even the semi-solid feeding and even complementary feeding. So often due to the lack of awareness, so number of people, they won't give their babies with this semi-solid feeding. So they mainly think that only the breast milk is enough. Okay, but it is not the case. So in fact, that 20% of children in higher socio-economic groups, they have stunted, indicates that there is poor knowledge of food selections and as well as feeding practices. So in this context, what is the need? So we need to create the awareness regarding this right diet and right time, right tools and even techniques regarding the special care in the first 1,000 days. And we must also act now and invest finance and as well as energy in this mission. And next one here is we need to revisit the system and we need to remove the loopholes or leakages. And there is also need to explore whether there is an alternative way to distribute this ICDS or not, and as well as PDS or not. And if you're talking about next one, that is we need to focus on systematically review the status and develop and test a new system that would combine human resources and as well as help from village. Okay, so we need to go for with a systematic review of the status and as well as development, and if there are any loopholes that we need to take off, and we need to go for upgradation. And next one is we need to address the mismatch that exists on focusing on this delivery of services. Okay, and here author says that first 1,000 days of life, they are very much important, especially to decrease this under 5 mortality rate. So this is about this topic. And now let us try to see next topic is regarding perils of multilateralism. So this article which is mainly talking about G7 summit, BRICS China link, okay, and as well as UAE, etc. So we are going to discuss these things which are very much important from your international relations, which mainly comes under your GS paper 3 or CS paper 2. And from here you have to know about what are the problems that you are facing in this multilateralism and what are the advantage with this bilateral relations. So these are the two important things that you have to remember, and this is your homework as well. So if we are talking about here, author mainly says that so today at Quad Summit and tomorrow at BRICS Summit and as well as at this G7 Summit. So what are these multilateral summits that we are attending? So in that multilateral conferences or groupings, yes, we are mainly starting sharing of our idea. So we are mainly focusing on this world leaders, and we are mainly focusing on exchanging of ideas between these countries. And in this way here we can seek a common ground for burning issues and as well as recalibrating our policy accordingly it is one of the heart of diplomacy. If you are talking about heart of diplomacy, yes, we need to go for exchanging of ideas, and we need to take the good ideas from them, and we need to bring the issues, and as well as we need to calibrate our policy accordingly. And but at the time when the world is trying to grapple with the impact of unprecedented problems here, which made arises in these 2 decades of this 21st century, and various intergovernmental organizations and groupings which are undergo fundamental changes may not be fertile in place of building peace. So what does this statement mean? So this statement is nothing but, so whenever there is some impact that is seen because of some unprecedented problems, okay, so that we are facing from the first 2 decades of this 21st century, and the various intergovernmental organizations and as well as groupings, they are mainly undermining these fundamental changes. And in this context, bilateral agreements may be much productive than compared to that of this multilateral organizations. So we are talking about inbuilt contradictions here. So recently here 14th BRICS summit, which mainly hosted by this China, okay, China on June 23rd and June 24th, and it mainly says that here grouping going by a blueprint it has prepared for the new world order. And here if you are talking about some issues with this China here, yes, regarding this China, if you are talking about BRICS actually, so BRICS, it is a political grouping, and the name of this BRICS, which is mainly given by this Goldman Sachs to categorize Brazil, Russia, India and China. They were mainly collectively dominating the global growth by 2050. And since the possibility of this developing and as well as some other countries here, so if you are talking about BRICS, okay, BRICS especially, so it is a nucleus of new economic groupings and as well as invested energy here. So if you are talking about others who mainly joined later by South Africa, it was also attracted by the idea of creating catalyst for an alternative and as well as Britainhood institutions. So actually what happened later on, first the 4 countries which mainly joined this BRIC, and later on the South Africa which also joined this BRICS. And here the composition of this group which have some contradictions. First one is here, if you are talking about members of this BRICS, so 2 members are permanent members of the Security Council, that is China and Russia, and other 3 members are non-permanent members. So here this is a grouping like 2 carnivores plus 3 herbivores. So we are talking about this group which mainly focused on responsibilities or possibilities of cooperation among the developing institutions, for example New Development Bank and as well as BRICS contingent reserve arrangement, etc. But here the fundamental question that mainly arises here is, so here China which do not want expansion of this United Nations Security Council. So we are talking about what are the changes that we can see. So entire fragile and framework for this limited cooperation was shattered with this bloodshed at Galwan, when this China unilaterally sought to alter the situation on the line of actual control, and even worse, which mainly halted by the progress of this disengagement from this certain sectors. So what happened across this LAC, there is line of actual control. So we are seeing that there is standoff between China and India since April 2020 onwards. So now what happened, the same situation that we are seeing in this Russia-Ukraine, and Russia which mainly attacking the civilians. And if you are talking about if Pakistan raising bilateral issues, here Kashmir issue on every occasion which mainly merited by the boycott of South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, that is SARC here. So here what happens, so because whenever Pakistan which is mainly stopping this bilateral issues regarding this Kashmir, and what happened, we are mainly going for alternative where the Pakistan which is not part of it. And if you're talking about Russia-China link, so we can say they will be having a brother and friend syndrome. So here recently joint statement of this BRICS was of 7,500 words, and out of which here they are mainly indicating the beginning of a new relationship with the BRICS. So if you're talking about this joint statement of BRICS, it mainly gave about 7,500 words. So here in this joint statement of this BRICS, so they mainly focused on beginning of a new relationship. okay, beginning of a new relationship within this BRICS. And the change of Russia was even more drastically different since February 2022 onwards. So what happened since this February 2022? So in this February, actually on this February 24th, Russia-Ukraine crisis which mainly started. So Russia started invading this Ukraine from this February 24, 2022 onwards. So from that day onwards, what happened? There is some change that is seen in this Russia here. So neither Soviet Union nor Russia, they mainly supported India. So both, okay, so before disintegration of this USSR, so that is before 1991, and after disintegration, Russia, they had never supported India against China since 1962. So we can say they will be having brother and friend relationship, okay, so because they have brother and the friend syndrome. So here Russia, which mainly showed some inclination to facilitate the discussion between India and China. So whenever there is discussion between India and China, so Russia, which is mainly inclined towards China here. So if Russia, which mainly had agreed to end the war and to begin the negotiations with this Ukraine and China, so what happened? The areas which mainly occupied in this 2020, that is China, which mainly occupied some areas, okay, in this LAC region, so especially the patrolling point 15 and some areas. So there is no proper disengagement and status quo across this LAC till now. We went for number of rounds of talks, but there is no proper disengagement or status quo. So China, which mainly thinks that BRICS would be an extension of this Belt and Road initiatives, and it mainly thinking that so this BRI, which is mainly designed to dominate the world by getting small and weak countries in the debt trap. So if you're talking about recent G7 meet, so here our Prime Minister, he mainly invited by this Germany, and there also we have some negative things that we had encountered, that is regarding democracy, religious freedom, and as India's neutrality regarding this Russia-Ukraine crisis. So there only India pick up some topics like environment related issues, energy related issues, climate related issues, food security, health, gender, and as well as equality, and as well as democracy. So these are some important things they are mainly discussed. So if you are talking about some more important things, so finally here author says that yes, we have number of multilateral negotiations. For example, you can talk about G7, you can talk about BRICS summit, you can talk about Quad summit. Yes, nowadays it is becoming very, very difficult, and it is mainly creating some chaotic global situations whenever we are mainly involving in this multilateral negotiations. So rather than that, we can go for bilateral talks, and in this bilateral talks they will be having some more advantages over this multilateral negotiations, because we are having some perils in this multilateralism. So this is about this topic. And now let us try to see next topic is regarding space sustainability. So this topic is important from your science and technology, which mainly comes under your GS paper 3. And now let us try to see this topic in a great detail, and you have to know what is the need for this space sustainability and what is India's stand. So this part will be very important. And if you see context, it mainly says that on June 23rd, okay, on June 23rd, UK hosted the 4th summit for space sustainability. So on June 23rd, UK, which mainly hosted 4th summit of the space sustainability in London, and it mainly came with collaboration with the Secure World Foundation. So actually they are mainly focusing on space sustainability. So because of this, here UK National Space Strategy, which may announced a new plan. So that plan is Plan for Space Sustainability. And according to this space sustainability, they are mainly focusing on setting of some standards, or to come up with some commercial framework of insurance and licensing and regulation of these commercial satellites. And the important aim, it is to reduce the cost and even to come up with best sustainability standards, and we need to encourage this thriving ecosystem industry as well. So if we're talking about this space sustainability, the Earth's orbital environment has more than tripled. Okay, so if you're talking about Earth's orbital environment, so whenever if you see this is as Earth, if you are considering this as Earth, so we are mainly launching satellites, or we are mainly using rockets to launch satellites, and those satellites will be moving in different orbits. So we will be having different orbits like geostationary orbit, and we will be having sun synchronous orbit. We will be having low Earth orbits, medium Earth orbits, and high Earth orbits. So in all these orbits, yes, we are having lot of amount of satellites. Not only India, which is mainly launching satellites, but even other countries like China, USA, Russia. There are almost all the countries, they are mainly coming up with their own satellites and they are installing in the different orbits. So here the Earth's orbital environment, which has been tripled in the past decade. And here the cost of mission, which mainly reduced. And because of this, the number of players, they mainly increased. And the complexity of missions also increased. So here we came up with the emergence of large constellation and as well as complex satellites. So whenever there is a large amount of satellites that is mainly seen, after once they decommission, so they will be acting as a space junk, and this space junk that will be having higher risk on these collisions as well. So as outer space is considered as a shared natural resource, here United Nations Committee on Peaceful Use of Outer Space in 2019, they mainly came up with adaptation of this 21 voluntary and non-binding guidelines to ensure long-term sustainability of outer space activities. So we are mainly focusing on some guidelines need to become mainly for the focusing on the space sustainability of outer space activity. So if we're talking about what are the issues, yes, we are mainly facing some issues. Okay, for example, if you're talking about the space sustainability, so we are seeing orbital crowding. So there is increase in the number of satellites that is mainly seen in the orbits, and here there is also direct threat to the operations and the safety of the machines as well. And next one here is, so space debris, it is one of the prominent issue. There is increasing of the space debris, and because of this, here we came up with this one concept of poem of ISRO that we already discussed. And next one here is, after completion of the mission, an end of life protocol requires the space subjects, they need to be moved to graveyard. Okay, so once the life of that so and so satellite which mainly happen means that need to be moved to the graveyard orbit, or we can move it to the low altitude. And next one here is other cause of concerns, like so from the sun we will be getting solar flares and magnetic storms, so they will be having some effect on the communication systems as well. And if you're talking about what is the need, what can be done, so the thing we can do here is we can move towards space research and as well as development of technology, and we need to focus on reuse and as well as recycling of satellites, and we can go for debris removal, and we can also go for some important steps, like for example we need to emphasize on international engagement. So one country which cannot take any steps, because the satellites are mainly sent by the different countries. So here we need international engagement, and we need to review the regulatory framework, and we need to focus on safety and as well as quality related metrics, and even we need to focus on additional funding as well. So these are some important things which are mainly set by UK Space Sustainability Plan. And if you're talking about what is the India's stand, so the India stand here is we have, okay, especially we came up with this one project, that is Project Netra. Okay, and even in space we are mainly focusing on increased role of private sector as well. So if you're talking about Netra, we are mainly focusing on monitoring of the space debris. And in April 2022, India and US, they signed a new pact of monitoring space objects at 2+2 dialogue, and the controlled anti-satellite weapons, that is HSAT test, and the risk of collisions must be collectively addressed. And we need to provide in-orbit servicing as well. And here we need to look at the docking satellite on the existing satellite. Okay, such that will be helpful for refueling in other orbit services as well. So in this way we can go for enhancing of capability of a satellite. So these are some important steps that we can take. And now let us try to see today's questions. The first one is regarding Harappan pottery. So first statement here is, Harappan pottery represents blending of ceramic tradition of Balochistan and as well as cultures of east of Indus system. Yes, and the painted decoration of this pottery, which mainly consists of horizontal lines where thickness, palm, birds, animals, people, tree, etc. Yes, so answer is both 1 and 2. And next question is regarding Neolithic culture, Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic. So here this is a question which is mainly talking about Neolithic culture of Kashmir Valley. So first statement here is, pit dwelling with well made floors smeared with red ochre as well as dwelling in open. Yes, Burial of dog along with some of human burials, yes. So pit dwelling and dog burials displays affinity with North Chinese Neolithic culture, yes. So the answer is all above. And the today's questions are, the first one is regarding Gupta administration and second one is regarding megalithic burials. So try to read the statements and give me the correct option in the comment box. So I want to make a small announcement. Yesterday we launched this mains answer writing course. So your admissions, they are going to be end in this week, that is by Saturday or Sunday the admissions will be closed, and the students who are interested to take this course to excel this mains answer writing practice. So one thing you have to remember here is, so UPSC, to clear this UPSC, one thing you have to focus here is mains answer writing practice, because in interview you can't guess what happens in interview, and in prelims it is just qualifying. And if you want to get a good rank and if you want to see your name in the finalist, you have to focus on this mains answer writing practice. So this is a 1 year course and we will be giving you weekly targets, and based on that daily one question will be given for you. Okay, you have to write the answer and you have to send to our email ID so that there will be evaluation will be done. So this course is very useful, and try to join this course, and the cost of this course is just 7,200 rupees for 1 year. And apart from that, we also launched this foundation course for 2023 and 2024. So this course is also very important. Okay, so you can get conceptual clarity, and we are providing more than 600 hours of video classes, so that each and every topic it is covered with recent current affairs, prelims and mains questions. So now we are providing this course with the offer of 10%, and you will be getting this course with a validity of 2 years for 49,000 itself. So try to take this course. And if you want to watch the demo videos, you can visit our website rathodacademy.com. There you have to register with your email ID, and after that you can watch the 3 demo videos without paying a single penny. So after watching that only you can take the subscription. So now let us try to see today's Hindu PDF, and if you want to get the PDF of this today's class, you can join the Telegram channel, link is given in description box. So this is our today's Hindu. Date is July 5th and this is Delhi edition. So here the most of the articles, they are political related articles are present, and there is no need of reading these political related articles. So here the first topic, it is regarding 13 killed in Himachal bus accidents. So here you need to know about bus accidents, and actually we can see especially tourist buses which are mainly moving for the long distances, they will be having this type of accidents. And you have to know like what are the steps that will be taken during the disaster and after disaster. So how government it is mainly going for rehabilitation and compensation. So that point you have to know. And next one here is hotel can't force customer to pay service charge. So recently here the central government, that is Central Consumer Protection Authority, which mainly came with some guidelines. So this guidelines which mainly says that hotels and restaurants, they are not to collect service charge from the customers. And these establishments should not add service charges automatically or by default to the food bill. Okay, so these guidelines mainly issued by Chief Commissioner, and he says that consumer funds that a hotel or restaurant is violating the guidelines, and they may make a request to make a service charge from the bill amount. Okay, so it is talking about service charge. So if you move forward, there is nothing much important in cities page. And directly you can move on to this page, states page, that is page number 5. So here you can see Dhyana Mandir to be built at Alluri birthplace. So this article is about 125th anniversary of this Alluri Sitaram Raju. I discussed this topic, and in this editorial page I discussed about this perils of multilateralism. I discussed about this direct nutrition interventions. Actually there is one article regarding this JCPOA, that is Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. This is also called as Iran's nuclear deal. Okay, actually recently this Iran's nuclear deal talk which mainly went, but it doesn't yield any result. So because of this, so this is the news, and you can go through this article once. And in this op-ed page there is one article which is important, that is regarding draft e-waste management rules. So here actually we are facing one important problem, that is e-waste. So for that, here Government of India which mainly came with this e-waste management and handling rules, and which mainly came into effect in India. But recently here we mainly came with some amendments. Okay, and these recent amendments is it is mainly present in this draft e-waste management rules 2022, which may be released for the public comments in May 2022 by Environment Ministry. So if we're talking about e-waste market, we are having some important challenges here. So actually here one major change that mainly introduced here is certification. So e-waste cycling certificates, and these draft rules which mainly state that producers of these e-goods, they have to ensure at least 60% of their produced e-waste is recycled by 2023. So by 2023 at least 60% of this produced e-waste to be recycled. And one more thing here is, if you're talking about this e-waste recycling, it is mainly becoming unrealistic because large scale of recycling of this e-waste which is mainly done by informal sector, and it is still in infancy. So most of the recycling of valuable materials, it is mainly carried within informal sector, and they are mainly using inefficient and as well as unsafe technologies. So it is not at all feasible. So this is the first important problem. And actually if you are going for proper recycling here, so we can create a vibrant market of recycling, okay, but we are not taking much steps here. And here informal sector which mainly accounts for the vast majority of this e-waste which mainly processed in India, and this e-waste policy which mainly debates that. So we need to go for integration of informal sector into formal sector such that we can go for issuing of proper regulations, etc. Okay, and this is about this topic. And you have to see about a few positive changes in this amendment here is, so it mainly came with expanding of this e-waste definition, and also came up with clearly what will be the penalties if there is any violation of rules, and also came up with introducing of environmental compensation fund, that is polluter pays principles, that means who are polluting they need to pay. And they also came up with this APR framework as well. So these are some important positives that we can see in these changes. So this is about this topic. And if you move forward in this text and context, so here this article is about single-use plastic ban. So in yesterday's lecture I discussed detail about what is a single-use plastic and what are the impacts. And this one here it is needing regarding this space sustainability. I discussed this topic. And if you move forward to this new speech, that is page number 10. So here you can see Australia to give minerals to Indian EV makers. So it is mainly talking about some critical minerals which are mainly helpful for this Indian electric vehicles. Okay, so this is about India-Australia relations. And next, if you move forward in this page number 12, and here you can see India leading the world in digital revolution. So this is the thing which mainly said by our Prime Minister, and you have to see this topic. And if you move forward in this world page, you can see here Sweden and Finland hold NATO talks. Okay, so this is also very important. And in this economy or business page, you can see article. It is exports grow 16.8%, imports surge 51%, widening of trade deficit. So exports which are mainly grown by 16.8%, and imports which is grown by 51%. That means we can see imports are more competitive of exports. So that led to further increasing of the state deficit. So in this state deficit we have positive and we have negative, that is trade surplus and trade deficit. So trade surplus means we can say exports are more competitive of imports, and trade deficit, or we can say the negative negative notation of the trade here is imports are more competitive of exports. That will leads to deficit. And next one here is government to review oil export tax on forex rate oil prices. So this topic is also important. And these are some important articles that appeared in our today's Hindu newspaper. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. So please subscribe to Rathod's IAS Academy and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. Thank you so much.